Okay guys, so today we're going to be making a video on taming and handling your leopard gecko. So let's get straight into the video. Now when you get a very young leopard gecko, they can tend to be quite flighty. So for example Speckles here, when I got him, he used to jump around absolutely everywhere, flying off all over the place. So it can seem like they're never going to tame down. But honestly, the best way to tame them down from that case is just to get like a plastic storage box or a rub, or even just any old box really, and handle them over every couple of days for 10 or 15 minutes. Now if you're handling them in the correct way, they will quickly learn that you're not going to do them any harm, and then they will tame down. I mean, like I said, Speckles, my leopard gecko here, was absolutely mad when I got him, but now you can see he really has calmed down a lot. So I did say that you have to hold them correctly, and that basically means hold them on the flats of your hand. Well, whether it's the back or the palm, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as they feel supported, they'll be okay. Now, when you're picking them up as babies, you don't really want to pick them up from above. I'll just show you what I mean. If I put Speckles down here, at his age, he's absolutely fine with me picking him up like this. But when they're babies, that can kind of scare them a little bit. So you do kind of want to pick them up in a little plastic box if you want to, if they really are afraid. But I find the easiest way to pick them up is to go in like that, with your hand that way up, believe it or not, because you can just sort of scoop them on and then they're sort of on your hand. Whereas if you do it with your hand the other way up, they do seem to put up a little bit of resistance when they're babies, but obviously Speckles is quite tame now, so he's fine with either way. Now, in terms of frequency with leopard geckos, you can handle them as often as every day really, as long as it's only for like 10 or 15 minutes. With my leopard gecko, I handle him on every single day that he's not feeding, because you may be able to tell he is quite chunky, even though I only feed him like every 4th day, and he only gets maybe 3 crickets in a sitting, which does just show you really the power of gut loading your insects and what feeding them like whole foods can do. They really do retain that weight well. But handling him is a good way to just bond with them, enjoy your animal, especially as they're nocturnal and you might not see them often, but just for some exercise as well. So when you're picking them up, it is important to remember that they can drop the tail. Now when leopard geckos are mature like Speckles, they do tend to not really be bothered about you messing with the tail that much. So obviously, not like a crested gecko where you're worried about them dropping it all the time. You just don't have to be with leopard geckos really. But when they're babies and even when they're adults, you still do not want to pick them up by the tail. Now you can sort of support them by the tail, so if I pop him down, you can sort of get them from the front and the back at the same time and lift them up like that, and they're not going to be bothered. But when they're babies, I wouldn't recommend it, and I definitely would never recommend going in and just grabbing the tail and picking them up that way, because you don't know what that's going to do pulling on the spine, and honestly, if they drop the tail, well, it's going to kind of be your fault. So that pretty much sums up holding and taming your leopard gecko. It really is nothing difficult. I mean, when you get a baby leopard gecko, if you've no experience with them, you might be a bit afraid that they're not going to tame down and you can't hold them and yours is different. But honestly, it's just normal. When they're little, they're small, they're skittish, they can't defend themselves and they don't really know what's going on. So they are going to be afraid, but when they're older, no matter what you do really, they're probably going to tame down. So I hope that you did enjoy this video and you can take something from it. And if you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to see similar content in the near future. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.